Story 1. Especially, my mom told and still tells me that she loves me nearly every time we see each other. As another person said, it's the knowledge that they will always have my back. They don't tell me they are happy or mad with my life choices, but tell me that I am the one who needs to live with them, and as long as I am happy, they are too. They weren't perfect, though, but they were able to apologize when they realized they deeply hurt me. They always explained their parenting choices, and I never once in my life heard the famous "my house, my rules." And the last thing that is very important to me is that they are absolutely loyal to their kids. Other adults or family members like older cousins or others are mocking me. They would always step in and defend me if I weren't able to. They always took my feelings seriously. I realized in elementary school that this wasn't normal for most of the adults. Story 2. My dad would always say, "If you fail your exam, I'll make you croissants." I'm super type A and would stress out a lot about tests in high school. But I always knew that no matter what I did in life, my dad would do nothing but love me. Story 3. You just always feel completely safe. And no matter what happens, everything will be okay. It makes life much better. You don't have to seek companionship outside of your family as much because you already have that loved feeling from your family. Basically, you rarely feel alone when you have loving parents and family. Story 4. I had a loving mom, but a very terrible dad. My mom supported me throughout all my school. She would go to different stores to get me supplies for my projects. She tried to read the same books I had so she could engage in critical thinking discussions. She attended my sporting events and cheered me on. She would lay in bed with me after I had a nightmare and run her fingers through my hair until I fell asleep. She would constantly reassure me that I was capable of pursuing my dreams. She made sure to tell me she loved me every day and gave me hugs frequently. She is an amazing woman, and I am so grateful I have her. Story 5. Best way I can describe it is just a general feeling of security. Just knowing that they are behind you 100%, and even when they are mad at you, it is almost always because they are trying to help you in the long run. It is not something you really appreciate until you get older and start to notice kids around you that have to deal with some pretty messed up situations from their parents. It's kind of slowly realizing how many bad things you've just never had to worry about thanks to your support system. And the best part is how your relationship changes as you get older. When they slowly start treating you like a fellow adult, and you get to see them as more of a whole person. Story 6. I'm not sure about loving parents, but I know about a loving parent. My mom is my hero. She shows me what love is. About 12 years ago, my father was deported and left behind 5 kids. Being 12 was the oldest. With both parents being immigrants, it wasn't always easy to find houses to live in or find jobs. My father was the only source of income, so when he got deported, we really did not know what to expect. I saw a side of my mom I never knew existed. She started selling tamales and working a few jobs here and there just to make ends meet. We had to live in a garage, we had to live in a single room. Try putting 6 people in a single room. Through it all, my mother never complained, and I never saw her cry. We suffered for years and still do, but not as much compared to back then. I work and help out as much as I can, and now 2 of my siblings work and help her out. But regardless, she is still working 6 days a week, and so am I. This is what having a loving parent is like. A parent who will go through hell just to make ends meet, always showing us love no matter how hard it got. Story 7. I have loving parents and am an adult. They are not perfect. I've got baggage. We've all made mistakes in our relationship. I was never abused in any way. As an adult, I have a very good relationship with them. Maybe the big thing is that we can forgive each other easily for the errors of our past. Now it's more like having very good friends than parents. And the roles are changing as I give more advice than I receive these days. Story 8. I feel bad because from the phrasing of this question it sounds like you do not. But I am not going to lie to you, it is incredible. I was born to 2 loving parents who waited until they were well off financially to have children. The only struggle I have ever had in my life is with depression, which is genetic and hereditary, and there is nothing I can really do about it. I am in college now, and my parents pay for my expensive university with all their heart. They go out of their way to do little things to make me happy. My mom will surprise me with takeout from my favorite restaurant, and my dad will surprise me with basketball tickets or take me to see a movie. We have arguments, but it is 99% of the time over little things that we do not remember 10 minutes later, and it rarely happens. We operate as a family, making decisions as a family. Every important decision I make is not all on me. It is as a family, so it is low risk, high reward. A big part of parents being loving is parents being responsible, and my parents have always been responsible adults. I think it is a special kind of cruel when a child loses the strong image of parents, or they never had it in the first place. I view my parents as strong figures, anchors. They have their moments of weakness, but overwhelmingly are always strong. I only hope to continue this and be an even better parent to my eventual kids. Story 9. I am 25, nearly 26. My parents were incredible growing up, and they still are. I grew up middle class, never extravagantly wealthy or anything, but we never had to worry about where our next meal was coming from. My mom is a pretty tough lady. She's a third-generation Italian immigrant and grew up on the Hill, St. Louis's Italian neighborhood. She kept us, my brother, sister, and me, in line and was never very sentimental, but she always cared for us and stood up for us. My dad is one of 6 siblings. He's the second oldest. He is a very caring, sentimental guy. He's 62 and retired now, but he worked as an information technology project manager for Anheuser-Busch and made good money. They both provided well for us, gave us what we needed, and were fair in their discipline when they needed to be. I realize at my age now that they sacrificed a lot along the way, taking us to soccer and baseball games, dropping us off and picking us up from school every day, dealing with our being whiny and annoying, all kinds of stuff. I suppose I really did have the sort of classic American dream childhood, and I think I've always taken it for granted. What was it like? The original poster asks. It was nice. It was comfortable when it needed to be and challenging when appropriate. I live on my own now, and I'm going over to see them for Father's Day today. I may mention a word of thanks for giving me a pretty nice life. Story 10. The most beautiful part is watching your parents love each other. I didn't even see how this would be valuable until I became an adult and learned that not everyone gets to grow up seeing healthy love. This plays an important factor in the relationships I have, and it's the reason why I'm glad to say I'm a healthy significant other. Whenever I hear about people I know in abusive and toxic relationships, the first thing I always ask is how were their parents' relationship? Trauma is a real and unfortunate learning mechanism. Story 11. It is wonderful to deep down never doubt their love. They always made me feel that even if they did not approve of something I did as a kid, they did not disapprove of me. I miss them dearly. Story 12. Amazing. My mother is the most loving and caring mother you could ask for. I'm 30, but still very close with my mom. Visit every weekend and help her with the do-it-yourself side of things in her home. She's slowly going blind, which is heartbreaking to watch her struggle with day-to-day life. Once she's completely blind, I'm leaving my job to help look after her as much as I can. She gave me and my siblings the best upbringing she could have given us, so I have to repay her. So yeah, it's great having loving parents. You will do anything for each other. Story 13. As I have gotten older, my views on this kind of question have shifted significantly. I thought I understood what loving, caring parents were, and that mine were pretty good but not great. Since I have met my significant other's parents, I truly understand what a caring parent is and that mine never were. I grew up in a quite racist household with parents that only did things that were interesting to them, even though I repeatedly said I did not want to do them. My father, for the majority of my life, made a joke that he was out of town whenever anything related to me came up. Good, bad, or neutral. I have no interest in speaking to either of my parents, although my mother calls about once every couple of weeks and tells me that I am not being fair to them and that I need to let the past go. I have come to dislike my parents and cannot remember a time when I felt mutual respect. My significant other's parents are not perfect. There are several times that there have been disagreements, but I have never not felt mutual respect. They are willing to ask for their child's, and my, help when needed. They try to plan outings that include all of us and make significant effort to understand. I have found in her parents what I always wanted from mine. Story 14. I told my mom that my office is opening back up again and asked her to make me a few masks, and she's made 10. When we were little, she would read to us in bed. Our friends' parents didn't buy groceries, just gave them a food allowance, which the kids spent at the gas station, so there was never any fruit at their house. My mom bought my friend's favorite apples for her. Story 15. The feeling of acceptance, understanding, and security. Also, the immense knowing that they will do anything for you, even if it means that they go through hardship. My father and mother escaped from communist countries, Poland and Vietnam, and nearly died during it. Upon arriving, they worked many jobs and went through hardship in order to give us a good upbringing. My father owns a pizza shop, and in its early days he worked from 8 a.m. to 3 a.m., usually not being able to sleep because of the stress of knowing that if something goes wrong, his family will starve. At the worst of it, he had to set up a mattress at the back of the store and slept there so he knew that it would be okay. My parents have been through hardship and back for us, and will in the future if they need to. Nevertheless, they gave us enough attention and love. One of the biggest things for me is trust. I trust them and they do trust me. We have mutual respect. Story 16. My parents are very understanding of the fact that teenagers need to be able to be teenagers. My friends and I make a lot of dirty jokes and, in general, tend to be really loud. We like to play games like Cards Against Humanity, typical teenage stuff. I'm always afraid that my parents will judge me or overhear us talking about these things, but they never mind. During my birthday party, I went back upstairs to bring down some drinks and apologized to my dad for the noise. He looked at me with the kindest look I've ever seen him give and said, "Don't apologize, you're fine." Later, my mom started talking about how teenagers just needed a place to be teenagers, and they told me after the party that they had been cracking up at some of the stuff they had overheard from the basement. I appreciate this so much in them. The level of trust that they have in me is great. I couldn't be more thankful to have such understanding parents. Story 17. They make sacrifices every day for you and don't expect anything in return because they do it out of pure love. None of that constant guilt tripping like, "I do everything for you, and you don't do anything, you ungrateful child." They do it because they want you to succeed and flourish, not because they want you to feel obligated to them. Story 18. Thanks for this post, original poster. I really needed to read people's responses here because it is just reinforcing the fact that my parents are not loving and are emotionally abusive, manipulative individuals. I'm not being facetious. After beating drug addiction, this is my last hurdle in clearing the evils from my life, and I appreciate the validation in these comments more than anyone can know. I was right when I listened to my gut and started to cut them off. I went to therapy, talked to my friends and my support group, but it's never easy to realize the two people who are supposed to love you unconditionally and be there for you are only out for themselves. I'm sure there are others here who have had the same realization, and I'd like to thank you all too for being strong. Thank you, Reddit. I needed this today more than I can explain. Story 19. To be honest, it's amazing and I wouldn't trade the world for it. I'm only 19, but in every part of my life, childhood, preteen, and so on, I got along with my parents. Not just to the level of tolerance, but I literally preferred to hang out with them and be in their presence. I think my parents have a whole lot of love to give. They extend their kindness not just to their kids, so I feel like even before they became parents, they were loving people in general. Becoming parents just gave them more people to love. Story 20. Sadly, I wish I had one. My parents literally use me like an investment. I always get beaten and punished for making them even a little bit uncomfortable. Story 21. You can't kill yourself because you know you are loved and would destroy your parents' lives. Also, they are there for you unconditionally, which is pretty nice. Story 22. My father left before I was born, and my mother has been my rock, my confidant, my everything. Because I don't remember my dad at all, I don't miss him. I am very grateful to my parent. Story 23. It's hard to explain, actually. My parents are just always there for me and are so supportive. They share in my achievements, encourage me to reach my goals, and are there for me when I'm down. It sounds so corny, but it is really true. It took me 6 years to get my degree because I was working full-time. Mom and dad would come over during exam weeks and cook me dinner or do my washing just because they knew how stressed I was. When I had a miscarriage ectopic, so I had to stay in the hospital a little while, they dropped in daily with food, toiletries, and so on for both my husband and me. They have supported me financially over the years. They are in no way well off. Like when my washing machine broke, they bought me a second-hand one even though they actually needed a new machine themselves. They prioritize me and my husband over themselves. They might be a little overbearing at times, but I am so grateful they are my parents.